The Second Amendment is alive and well, and it is kicking bleep and taking names.
And Bill asked me would I support the national right to carry legislation. How do you feel about national right to carry? Yeah, we're working on it.
That's President Trump a few days ago when he visited a Mack truck facility in Pennsylvania. He was talking to union workers and told them that his administration is working on national right to carry legislation. And you can hear from the applause that this is a very popular idea with freedom loving, Second Amendment loving Americans. And that's not even the biggest news. It's not the biggest gun news this week at all. On Thursday, a Virginia judge issued a preliminary injunction against the assault weapons and high capacity magazine ban that goes into effect here in Virginia on July 1st. This is huge, everybody. We're talking all about that today, including reactions from our overlords in the Democrat Party. Oh, Grabby Abby and Jay Two Bullets Jones, they are not best pleased about these developments. You can be sure. But do be sure to stick around and hear how President Trump and the Supreme Court have the backs of gun owners in Virginia. It's looking like it's going to be a hot summer of woe for the Democrats. Hey, if you're new here, hi, I'm Terry, fed up Gen Xer, ticked off Virginian. If you're interested in how the loony left is trying to destroy Virginia and the United States, you're in the right place. This is how everyday Americans and Virginians are going to stop it from happening. It's the right place for you. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, or as the kids say, smash it, because you don't want to miss a thing. Things are moving fast around here in Virginia, and it has implications for all of the United States. Welcome to Smart Girl Politics. All right, let's get right to what's happening here in Virginia. This is from Thursday. That would have been June 25th. Lancaster is the dateline that is in the northern neck of Virginia. A judge in rural Virginia sided with gun rights activists Thursday, barring state police from enforcing an assault weapons ban set to take effect July 1st. Lancaster County Circuit Judge John Martin issued the preliminary injunction from his bench in favor of Gun Owners of America, Virginia Citizens Defense League, and resident John Crump, finding the Commonwealth unlikely to succeed in arguing the impending law doesn't run afoul of the state's constitution. We like the Constitution here in Virginia. In the hearing, which took a little over 2 hours, Crump and the organizations argued that the newly passed law conflicts with a provision of the Virginia Constitution enshrining the right to keep and bear arms added in 1971, not to mention the United States Constitution. Article 1, Section 13, again, this is of the Virginia State Constitution, is the Commonwealth's recognition of a pre-existing right with which Virginians were endowed by their creator. They don't like that. Democrats do not like the creator. And it operates as a fixed limitation on the power of government to enact legislation affecting firearms, the plaintiff said in a motion. Martin denied the Commonwealth's attempt to separate the state court's analysis from the analysis the Supreme Court requires of federal courts following its 2022 decision in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin. So I wanted to take you over to a little thing I wrote over at Red State, as you know. And if you don't, I write at redstate.com. You should go over there and follow because we, as you can see from our fun headlines, we're all over it there. I just wanted to talk about a little bit some of the points I wanted to make that aren't in that courthouse news article. I entitled it, Spanberger Gets Smacked Down Again as Virginia Judge Blocks Assault Firearms Ban. And this is because this judgment came down in the afternoon after some Supreme Court decisions that did not sit well with those grabby Abby types. Things went from bad to worse for Democrats on Thursday afternoon after a judge in Virginia issued a preliminary injunction on the assault firearms, which nobody knows what that is, and high-capacity magazine ban. We know that's 16 rounds and above. That was set to go into effect in the Commonwealth next Wednesday. This is an important part. The judge from Lancaster County, located in Northern Neck, ruled that the Virginia State Police cannot enforce the bans through December 31st, 2026, or until a final order is issued. So it is a temporary order. Very important to note that. Another thing, and I'm just I'm just enjoying here how the VCDL and the Gun Owners of America are enjoying their victory. They're taking victory laps, and it is well deserved because the fight is real here in Virginia, and you'll love to see it. Now, I did want to come down to this part. Cam Edwards, who we've had on the show before, he is over at bearingarms.com, and he noted on X yesterday afternoon, on Thursday, after the injunction came out, that it applies only to the Virginia State Police and warned Virginians, this is something you all need to listen to, that some local law enforcement officials may still plan to act on the bans, which go into effect in just a few days. I also wanted to note here that there is a separate lawsuit on the ban, which is making its way through Washington County, Virginia. So just to know that it's not just everything does not ride on this one injunction. There are other steps being taken here on a national level. Anyway, I wanted to let you know what J. Two Bullets Jones, we love him. He's very concerned about other people having guns. Only he should have a gun so that he can maybe fantasize. Well, not maybe. He can definitely fantasize about shooting the families of his political opponents. Great guy. Thanks for electing him, Democrats. Virginia Attorney General Jay Jones was not best pleased by the injunction and issued the following statement. This ruling is disappointing and puts our communities at risk. The Commonwealth will urgently file a motion to stay this ruling and appeal this temporary injunction. We will continue to vigorously defend Virginia's assault weapons ban and magazine capacity restrictions and uphold the laws designed to keep Virginians safe. He has absolutely no intention of keeping anybody safe. The less safe you are, the more power he can take over you. And remember, these are for the lesser people like you and me, not for him. Now, it's not just Jay Jones who is super ticked off that Virginians might be able to keep their guns. Grabby Abby Spanberger herself also is deeply disappointed. Oh no, the HR manager is not happy, everybody. Here we go. Here's what she said. Governor Spanberger firmly believes that firearms designed to inflict maximum casualties do not belong in our communities, near our kids in schools, or on Virginia streets. The governor signed this common sense legislation to save lives and protect law enforcement officers, kids, and families from gun violence. And the governor remains committed to making the Commonwealth a safer place for every family. No, she doesn't. We all know this. She wants the bad guys to have all the access to the guns and for you and I to not be able to defend ourselves and our families. I have no intention of letting this go. Much like the gerrymander, it's going to keep rearing its ugly head for us here in Virginia. But wait, there's more. A Supreme Court decision from last week will likely provide us here in Virginia with even more protections if we want to own guns. Let us go over to our friend Mark Smith at Four Boxes Diner. He is going to tell us all about this decision.
To use. So here's how I would use the Hamani case to advance the right to keep and bear arms in Virginia, addressing the so-called arms ban, assault firearm bans, all that kind of stuff down there. To begin with, we see that the U.S. Supreme Court reiterated the fact that the DC versus Heller case is good law. In addition to the fact that in her concurrence, where she's arguing for the rejection of Bruin, even Ketanji Brown Jackson and Justice Sotomayor, even those justices in a concurrence in Hamani, literally do not call for the overturning of the Heller case. They simply call for the overturning of Bruin in terms of the proper way to interpret the Second Amendment, but they actually don't even criticize the Heller case. And
it bears repeating what he just said there. Two of the most liberal of the justices, Jackson and Sotomayor, even they don't think that Grabby Abby and her little cabal of gun grabbers here in Virginia have a legal constitutional leg to stand on. So that's important because this eventually is going to go to the Supreme Court.
That's because the Heller case, as you know, deals with when you can ban a particular kind of arm. And the Supreme Court in 2008 did the full-blown historical analysis of when under American law, historically, you can ban an arm. And the only time you can do that, conceivably or theoretically, is if there's a particular arm that is both dangerous and unusual. And because AR-15 semi-automatic rifles, suppressors, magazines, whatever, are in common use by Americans for lawful purposes, the government is not going to be able to show at the historical level that any of these arms are not in.
Yeah, again, dangerous and unusual. They are not dangerous, but you will hear Spanberger and Jay Jones keep saying that because they want to drill that into people's heads. It's not the case. A lot of law enforcement use AR-15s on an everyday basis. Jonathan Turley, the law professor, noted in a previous thing that we covered, and that it is the fastest selling gun right now. And they sell like every few seconds or something like that. And certainly here in Virginia they are, because with the ban coming down, looming over us, like gun shops. I drove past the Clark Brothers one near Warrenton when we were going down to Lynchburg, and that place was booming.
In common use. And because the
They're
government
in
cannot
common use.
establish that any of these items are not in common use, the government will not be able to meet their historical based burden that any of these arms that have been banned in Virginia are dangerous and unusual. And never forget, as I've taught you on this channel repeatedly, the burden of proof is on the government to demonstrate that a weapon that they banned in Virginia or otherwise is dangerous and unusual. So obviously, before we get there, there's obviously no way that Virginia is going to be able to show that any of these semi-automatic rifles or the magazines are trying to ban are dangerous or unusual, because they're ubiquitous, they're in common use. And that is going to be addressed specifically in this Hamani case, which I'll.
Okay, so it looks like the Supreme Court has the back of Virginia gun owners, which is wonderful. So, what is it that President Trump is also doing on this carry legislation? This is over at Fox News. Trump fuels hope for nationwide right to carry legislation with surprise declaration at Pennsylvania event. Trump's comments come more than 3 months after Mike Lee, senator of Utah, introduced the National Constitutional Carry Act, legislation that would eliminate concealed carry permit requirements nationwide for eligible Americans. The National Constitutional Carry Act will establish nationwide permitless carry to keep America safe and her people free. We don't know for sure that this is the legislation that President Trump was referring to, but it seems very likely that it is what Mike Lee is already working on in the Senate. And it's a big, FU to the Abigail Bambergers and Jay Jones of the world who want to take your guns. Now, this is all very gratifying, but the fight ain't over. We all know that. We know that they're going to continue to push these legal challenges. For now, I think you can breathe a little bit easier on this, but we got a couple days. Go stock up. Anyway, that is all I've got for you all today. I want to know what you think. Please drop me a comment to let me know what you're thinking about all of this. It's very fast moving. It's going back and forth. But like I said, I think there's a little bit of breathing room here, but prepare for the fight. Stock up. We have Donald Trump. We have the Supreme Court. They seem to have our backs right now. So that is good to see. So remember, drop the comment. As always, guys, be safe out there, and I will see you next time. Bye.